Okay, so we're going to be making the Dutchman puzzle, and that uses a unit that's called flying geese, or it's also known as a double half square triangle. In order to make that, the rule on the flying geese or the double half square triangle is you're going to measure whatever the width or the length of it that you need, and the height is going to be half of that. So like if you're in the unit that we're making today, it's for a 12-inch block, and so it's going to be 6 inches for the length and 3 inches for the top. That's your finished sizes, so you need to add on your ½ inch for your seam allowance to cut it out. So you're going to cut a rectangle for each flying goose on this. The goose section you're going to cut at 6.5 by 3.5, and then you're going to need some sky fabric, and that'll be your background. And we are going to use a method to where you're using a square instead of cutting everything off or having to use templates. We're going to work with a square. So there is some waste on this. You're going to take your square, and it's going to be the same size as whatever your height is. So on our example of what we're making, it is 3.5 inches. So that's what we need to cut our square at, 3.5 inches. And then draw you a line diagonal from one corner to the other with your washout pencil, or probably use, I wouldn't use a washout, but either with a pencil or a friction pen. And then that is going to be your sewing line. And you're going to put it on your goose section. Here's my goose. And it's one rectangle. You're going to put the square. I usually just do mine on the right side. It doesn't make any difference if you do the left or the right first. But I'm going to match up the raw edges on here, and I'm going to stitch from the corner. On this one is from the top center down to the corner. And then you're going to stitch that on your line. You can go just a little bit toward the side of the your corner, and that will give you like a little bit of a scant to help account for the thread and the fabric when you press it. So you're going to stitch that, and then you're going to go press it. Let me get this over here. Got another one there. You're going to go press it back like this, so you're going to have that unit there. And then you're going to trim off the extra that's on the corner side, and just trim it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I usually go and I check to see that it's going to be the right size, or that I didn't get it too wonky, because when you go press it, if you've got any of the green or your goose showing, then it's not right. So you press that. You're going to press to the sky. It's the square that you added on. So you've got that added on there. You're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite corner. You are going to have a little bit of an overlap in the center. It is going to overlap it here. So that is fine. And just stitch on your line again. I usually start at the corner on the bottom to go up, so I don't have to start at all that bulk. I'm going to stitch that. And you'll go press it to see that it's all done right. And then you're going to trim off the extra here, the side that's going to the corner. You're going to trim that off. You notice on the back it makes another little X. So when you're sewing these, you want to put this side up so you can see it, so that you can always hit that little X there. So I'll get all these made for the block that we're doing. Like I said, it's called the Dutchman puzzle, and you can you need at least 2 colors in it. but you can do it with the 4 different colors. If you're doing the 2 different colors, you're going to do 4 rectangles at 6.5 by 3.5 out of each color. You're going to need a total of 16 3.5-inch squares for your sky fabric for your background. So I'm going to get these all made, and then I'll show you the layout for it in order to make your Dutchman puzzle. Okay, I've got my units sewed, and so you're going to assign a color number. You're going to have color 1, 2, 3, and 4. So assign a color number to your units. You're going to sew 1 to 2 like that. So you're just going to flip it. You're going to flip the bottom one up, and you're going to sew the seam here. There is an X there, so you're going to make sure you sew through that. You're going to do that on both stacks. Okay, so now that that's all stitched, got sharp points, went through the intersections there. So now you're going to sew the 1, 2 to the 3, 4. So I've laid them out, and I pressed my seams to the portion. I pressed my seams to the portion of the goose that did not have a point there, because that's going to be the least resistance for the seam to go. So I pressed everything into the direction of the solid goose. You're just going to flip this over, and then you're going to sew this seam. But your X, well, there is an X here, but you're just going to have to kind of flip it over. The way you do it is, if you can see where the X is, you can mark it with a pencil on this side, so that as you're sewing, you'll be able to see it and go hit it. So just kind of find where your X is, mark it here on the back side of your seam with the pencil, and then when you go to sew this, like I said, I flipped that over that way, but you're going to pin it and stitch this direction, hitting that. That's also going to have your seam going down, so it should not flip back up on you, because it'll be going down like this. So stitch those up, and then after that's done, you're going to take the 2, you're going to press them to the side that doesn't have the seam in it, and then you're going to flip one of them upside down. So it's going to be like this when you sew it in, and that's going to be your completed block. Okay, there's your finished block. Got all 4 sections sewn together. So that's the Dutchman puzzle using a flying geese unit, or also known as the double half square triangle.